Hi there, this is Art and Such, and today I'm going to show you how to make a Dreamcatcher Owl. So I made one in red with orange, and today we're going to be making one using greens. And of course you can choose whatever color you'd like for yours. For this pattern, first of all, I would recommend some newspapers or old ads to lay down on your mat because we are going to be doing some gluing. For the gluing, you'll want a leather or suede glue, something to apply it with, some scissors and or leather scissors. You're going to need 2 hoop rings, and oh my gosh, I'm trying to remember now. I think these were 4 inches across. Let's see. 3 to 4 inches I would recommend. You're going to need a leather wrap. Oh, I grabbed the wrong thing. Leather wrap cut into thinnish strips, and waxed thread for making the dream catchers themselves. And to put the thread on, we will be needing a needle with a large hole. If you've seen my other videos with dream catchers, you know I like to put some clear nail polish or hardener on the ends of the knots when we come to them. Some feathers you'll be wanting. I'm going to use some greens, and I'm probably going to do 2 shades. You can do them all the same color, different colors, whatever you'd like to do. And some beads to go onto the ends. Let me hold this up here again for you again. So we're going to have some beads here. Now I made 8 of these long strips, and I'm using 16 beads on the top and 16 beads on the bottom. Once again, you don't have to use as many. You can use pony beads if those are preferable as well. I think we've got everything covered now, so we can begin. The other thing I would suggest, if you're using a thicker leather like I am, try it out on your material first and set a timer to see how long it takes to dry. I've got a little kitchen timer handy, and I'm going to be holding this on for about a minute each time that I glue a piece on. So without further ado, we can get our ring ready. Try and angle this better for you there. We're going to dab a little bit of glue onto the ring. Take one of our longer leather strips and attach it, and I'm not going to give you a specific length for the strip. The longer the better, because ideally you won't want to cut it at the end, but honestly I don't know what the perfect measurement is here. We're going to stick it onto the spot with the glue. And set that timer. And while I'm holding it and it's drying, I'm going to start wrapping it. If your leather is sort of holding and sort of not holding, and you want to secure it a little bit better, you can actually get a pipe cleaner or a twist tie. I'm going to put a little more glue. Pipe cleaner or a twist tie over it and wrap it on so that it'll hold it in place while you start to wrap. Let's try that again. So in order to wrap, we go under, over, press it down with the thumb, grab it at the back with 2 of the fingers, pull it over, and we'll keep going like that. Just don't want to let go of my first piece. Maybe you're still at the point where you're holding that and waiting for it to dry, as I am, which is totally cool. If you want to wait before you wrap, it's not a bad idea. I'm just really impatient. Okay, and I'm going to let this sit a little bit longer because, if you remember, I did have to reapply the glue. If your leather is really thin, it might stick on in a matter of 10 seconds or something. Just make sure it really is on good, because it would be sad if you got halfway through the project and it started to unravel. Okay, I think we're good there. And some people like to overlap their pieces. I like to sit mine right next to each other, particularly when the leather is thick. As we're wrapping, I'll mention really quickly, you can get all of these supplies at a craft store or Aboriginal craft store. You should be able to find all of these things online as well. And some of the supplies like the glue, the nail polish, the needle, the scissors, of course, you might be able to find at a local dollar store or department store. We're going to keep wrapping until we get to the beginning. If your wrap does run short, you can cut and glue another piece on. And I can actually show you how to do the finishing glue right here, because that's the point we're at. When you come back to the beginning, we throw some more glue onto the wrap, onto the metal. Pretty straightforward. We're gonna keep wrapping it around and hold it there. Set my timer again, and I think while I'm holding this, I'll get a hold of my next piece. One thing I like to do with the ends of my leather strips is to trim it up a diagonal way, and I think that it just looks a little bit nicer, and it's also easier to meet the ends together. Okay, and this is my least favorite part of this project, but it shouldn't be too long. Okay, we got about 20 seconds to go on this piece, and then we'll do the same kind of wrapping on the other hoop. If you're ready to go and want to jump ahead, you can certainly get going on that. So I'm just going to lay that down. I think it will be okay there. When it's dry, you can trim the end. I'm just going to, like I said, give mine a tiny bit extra just in case. Do a really quick trim on this end. So I did notice when I was holding it up, it's not very triangular-y. Right, so let's get our glue and our hoop. And I'm using a lot of glue here because my piece is thick, but you might be able to get away with a smaller amount. Again, depending on the thickness and while your piece is sticking to begin with. Oh, set that timer. And when you're ready, when it's dry enough or you've got a good hold, you can start to wrap this next one. You'll be pleased to know this is the last piece that we're going to be wrapping, although we will have a few more things to glue. And if you do get a little bit of glue on the leather on the outside of it, like on the top, or if it's wet through the leather a little bit, it should still be okay. Most of the leather and suede glues I've worked with, they do dry clear, they rub off, they're pretty clean to use. If you're trying this with a school glue though, I'm not quite sure how well that'll work, for one thing, but it could potentially be a little bit messier, not too sure. Go. They seem okay. Now I actually saw a picture of this owl on the internet a few years back, and I know there are many tutorials for this. I don't think I watched a tutorial. I think this is something a friend and I just kind of looked at the pictures and played around a little bit till we found what worked for us. So hopefully this method will be one that's easy for you as well. And definitely look for more ideas, check out some of the other patterns, because there are some really cool dream catchers out there. Almost back at the beginning. And we'll throw on some more glue. I'll be honest, I don't know how much of a difference it makes whether you put the glue directly onto the leather or directly onto the ring. It seems to work pretty well both ways, if you ask me. But whatever is comfortable or working best for your project is what I would recommend. If you do find it sticks better going on the leather first, then by all means do that. I feel like my first piece is coming loose, so I'm gonna wrap over that just a little bit. And this piece is going to be covered, this sort of knotted piece, whatever you want to call it. It's not really knotted. This piece we wrapped over where we started and ended. We're going to be covering that, so don't worry too much if it's not perfect. And I think I'm going to put the lid on my glue now, so we'll do the Dreamcatcher part next, the weaving. Okay, another 10 seconds. Maybe we'll lay that down carefully. Now on the first piece, I'm actually inclined to leave this on, but I won't. We'll do it. We'll do this all together, so I'm going to take that off for now, because we are going to have a piece that will span from one to the next. But as I said, I'm going to do that with you a little bit later. We're going to leave it as it is for the time being. You get out your wax thread and cut about maybe a yard or a meter. I'm going to do the length of my arms from one end to the other. And if it's a little bit extra, that's okay. We would rather have a little too much than not quite enough. Take one end and put it through your needle. And this stuff is a little bit sticky, a little bit tacky, but it'll get easier to work with the more that you do. Like it starts losing the tackiness as you go. The other end we're going to tie over that first place where we started and ended. And if you can tie it so that it's holding the leather down, even better, because that reinforces our ending piece. Let's do a second knot, and you can do a third if you want to. I think I will. I left enough of a tail here. And get your bead handy. Just have it close by, because when we get to the middle, you're going to want to grab that without putting your Dreamcatcher down for too long. Okay, so we're going to do a basic Dreamcatcher kind of thing here. And that means, just watching this doesn't go in the glue, means we're going to go across the ring. And I think I'm actually going to move these newspapers out of the way so you can see a little bit better. I'll put them back when we're gluing some more. Hopefully I'll remember. Okay, so it should be a little bit easier to see now. Good. We're going to take the leather, stretch it across the ring. And let me just check how I space these here. I'm going to refer back to my first one. I have 1, 2, 3, 4. So we've got about 1.25 inches. So we're going to stretch it across, bring the needle behind, and back through the new space we've created. And if it's kind of looping around, pull it back, keep it close to that side. You can tighten it until it's right up where we want it, which, as I said, will be about just a little more than 1 inch. And we're going to repeat that. So go across the ring to the back, up and through, and carefully tighten it and pull it until we've come another inch or so down, and we might have to do a little bit of adjusting as we go, but hopefully we'll get it pretty close. And that looks good. And we're going to pinch the space, the weaving we just did, and repeat our process until we get back to the beginning. So go down another inch or so, keep it nice and tight, and continue around. Now if you find that some of your segments are larger than others or smaller than others, you might have to loosen a section and then tighten the next one, and then retighten and make some adjustments until these are spaces you'd like them to be, and hopefully we'll be good here. That looks perfect. Right. So one more in the middle, or in between I should say. And now we're going to go under the thread where we tied it on. So back towards us. And bring that over and tight. And now we're going to go around again. If you've done a basic Dreamcatcher, this should be looking familiar. But now instead of going over the ring, we're going to go over the first little piece from the last time. Go down through, back up, and over that thread. And down through, back up, and through the new hole that we've created. And we are going to keep doing this until we get right close to the middle, but first I'm going to hold my needle closer to the end because it's getting a little tight with the double over there. And it occurred to me this video is going to take longer than I thought it would, so I got started a little bit late, but hopefully I can get this all on before I lose my little bit of sunlight. Middle of winter here. With that in mind, I think I might get up and turn on the light in a few minutes, but hopefully, again, we can get to the end of our weaving before it gets that dark. It's actually very sunny right now, so just would be nice. It will be nice if it holds for a while. You can see I'm pinching the finished ones or the last finished one as I go to the next one. So it goes through the space, down and back up, over and through. And if this is still really confusing, you're not sure what I'm doing with the needle, I do have a beginner's Dreamcatcher video, and there are many other tutorials out there as well. You can check those out if you want a refresher or a little extra help on that. If you decided that you didn't want beads and wanted to use it, oh, I forgot to mention something. Oh my gosh. I'll tell you in just a second. Although you probably saw it on my first owl, so hopefully it occurred to you to get a charm of sorts for the nose. You'll want something kind of triangular for that, but now my mind is wandering. What was I talking about? Oh, I was just going to say, if you want to put charms in for the eyes instead of beads, I'm sure there are a lot of different things you could try for that, or buttons. Buttons would make nice eyes. I wouldn't suggest them for the hanging pieces though, because they're sort of flat and they would be really hard to get onto the leather. But I was just thinking you could go in a few different directions with the eyes. We're getting pretty close to the middle. We're not going to close it up entirely, but we do want it somewhat tight to towards the center. I'll go through one or two more, and then we'll be wanting our bead right away. Okay, so we're going to put the bead on the needle. If it's too big to go over the needle, then get a different needle or just put the thread through. We're going to go across and through one of the pieces straight across from where you ended there. Pull through, press it in nice and tight, turn to the back, come back up through the bead. Now if you're really struggling here, this part is like that part, going back through is not it's not necessary, but it makes it a little more secure. We're going to go under a nearby piece, and when we come up, we'll come back under through our new loop. So through and then back into our new loop. Press it tight, cut off the end with leave a little, you can leave a little bit of a tail, and I like to put on some clear nail polish on the ends of the knots. I think it keeps them a little bit stronger. I'm going to lay this down for the polish to dry. Let's quickly trim the leather, the excess leather from the first piece. Put that on the side. And we're going to make a second eye just as we made our first one. So get your wax thread, measure out again about a meter or so, and if in doubt, cut extra, never hurts. And get that needle, put one end through. We're going to go a little bit faster on this one, at least once we get the first row settled, or our first round of it, first set around. Find that first place where you started. We're going to tie the end over it. Try that again. Looks like half of my thread went the wrong way there. And I'm going to triple knot it again just to be safe. Sorry for the background music there. My neighbors like to blast their tunes. It's usually older stuff, but I'm afraid there isn't very much I can do about it right now. So we're going to go across, over, back up through, same distances apart, so about an inch and a bit. Oh my gosh, that music is super loud. And repeat, we're going to go all the way around and exactly repeat what we did on the first one. So hopefully you're getting the hang by now. Keep going together. And after this eye is done, then we are done with our wrapping, or with our weaving. I don't know why I'm getting all of my verbs mixed up today. I think I'm just a little tired. Again, if any of these don't feel like they're quite equally spaced out, you can always loosen them up and then tighten them again closer to where you want them to be. go back through first one. You can see my leather's coming. My leather wrap isn't as tight here as I want it to be. I might dab a little bit of glue underneath when I'm done. Okay, back through the first space, and we'll weave it all the way around again. I would ask you as viewers if someone knew of a way to, I guess, dub out or mute out the background music there, but then you'd hear me talking about muting the music and think I was just a crazy person. It's no good. Okay, keep going till the middle. I'm getting closer here. I did make one of these, like I said, one of these owls I made once before the red and orange one, and that was a green one as well, and I really liked the way it looked. So even though I used different beads on it, I'm hoping this one will come out looking similar to the first, because it was really, really cool, if I do say so myself. And as with any of my other videos, if you have a finished project you'd like to share with me on YouTube, on Instagram, or a link to a picture, please feel free. I love seeing what you come up with, after seeing my videos. Keep spinning and keep turning this as we go through. Trying to decide as I go here what order I want to do things in, because we've got, well, we'll put our eyes together after this, and then we've got our nose to attach. We'll do the eyebrow feathers last. We've got the piece to hang it by. Now we could do that last, or we could do that before we do the hanging pieces, but I think we should go to the hanging pieces next. Almost at the middle here. Again, I think I'll need one more. That should take me to the same place we were at on the last one when we did this. Could do one more, but well, we'll do one more. We're okay where we are, but I think I do want just one more, and ready for the bead. And straight across through a piece on the opposite side. If you are able to, after you've pushed it in, you can turn it to the back and come back up through the bead. Make it a little extra secure. If you're using a really thin thread, you might want to do that a couple of times even. Go under a nearby strand. Almost anyone will do. We just want it to be really close to the bead. And when you bring your needle back out, you're going to go back through the new hole that you've created, the new space. Push it in tight, trim the end, throw on some of that polish, and I'm going to put this down, grab the other one, or the first one, trim the ends on that, and the polish doesn't take long to dry. I just like to really give it a chance to do its thing. I cut a feather. And now that's done, I'm going to get the newspapers. Oh, here we can trim for the second one now. Now I'm going to bring the newspapers back because we're going to be gluing again right away. So we're gonna need you can use a thin leather strip, or I think I'm gonna use a slightly thicker piece. So I'm gonna cut a little strip here. It's okay if it's thinner than this. I'm just trying to, maybe I will do it a little thinner. I'm trying to get something really secure though. Let's try about this. It's a centimeter or so wide. What we're going to do is we're going to take the starting points, hold on, we can zoom this out a little more. There we go. The starting parts where our messy knots are, we're going to basically glue this over into the back. So I'm going to put a little glue on top of the knots in the front. Actually a lot of glue because it's a larger space here. We're going to put this on top. We're going to carefully lift and flip. Bring it through somehow. It's coming up between some of our little slats there. Let's check that we're still okay in the front. Not quite. Have to go a little bit lower this way, I think. Pull that tight and have another check. That's pretty decent. We're going to put the nose in there anyway, so it's okay. Put a ton of glue on the back. Press down. Press down. And I'm going to set that timer again. See if we can clean up some of our extra glue. Maybe I was overzealous with my gluing there. I just really want this to be on solidly when we're done. You can use a Q-tip, a toothpick, whatever else, if a stick, whatever, if you wanna, or even another leather piece just to rub off the extra if it's getting in your way there. Pressing down really, really, really hard. Just a little bit longer. Hopefully just a little bit longer. Okay, that's a minute. I'm going to flip it back to the front. And I'm going to save these feathers for last, but we'll make sure we set a couple aside. Now your leather strips to hang, yeah, we'll do that next. Actually, I think I'm going to turn this way so that it's closer down to the bottom. The leather strips, you can decide how long you want them to go. Keep the ends cut narrowly, the triangular diagonal bottoms. And as I said, I'm going to have 8 of these. What we do is we fold it over. Let's see, did I have some longer ones? Start with longer ones. Fold it over. We're going to pick a spot for it to go. Put it on top. Put the ends through to the back. Press them under the ring and back through the folded section. You want to try to even your ends out as they're coming through. You can pull it tight, and I like to do one on either side right above the weaving there. so we'll start with those, and I did cut my pieces really short this time. That's okay. We're gonna go with it. So make a little loop, put the loop on the top, press the ends under, up and through that loop. And even out the ends and pull this tight. Let's get this on camera. I need a tripod or something. Let's keep going around. So I'm going to do a couple near the middle. And if you do have some slightly shorter pieces, I would suggest putting them closer to the middle. But I'm not sure how much it matters. Just try to keep it symmetrical. So if you've got two short pieces, put them both in the same section. Hopefully yours did all come out the same length. You might have some that are really, really long, and you might keep them short and sweet like I did. So that's 3. This will be 4. You can see it is kind of sitting loose and lumpy there. We're going to put a little glue under these. Just a minute. Although it is flopping about, so I think I'm going to put my glue on now. So dab a little bit of glue underneath, not a lot. Just to secure it a little extra well. We don't really have to hold these for quite as long unless you want to. It's just, as I said, a little bit extra. A little bit extra. This leather I've got is really, really thick though, so I want to keep it nice and try to keep it nice and tight here. Let's put some on here and then I'll add the rest of my strips. So I'm going to put my next one on either side above or to the right of the next weaving part here, the next joint. We'll dab a touch of glue. Make it nice and tight. And let's get the next one. Where did I put it? This is a long one. This is a long one. This one is good. So this is the same as we did on the first side. Just checking that it's not flipping over here too much. Give it some extra glue. Tighten it up and press. And I'm going to put on 2 more. I think this was one of the ones I was going to use. Let me just trim this so it's a little more narrow. 2, 3. And you'll see in a minute why these ones are best with little corners. As I said, the others, it just looks neater, but this is actually going to help us on this part. This one's going kind of between the last 2 pieces we put on. And I think this is too short. I'm going to grab a couple different ones. Sorry for the delay here. It's taking me a second to cut a couple new strips. fact, normally I would make all of these a little bit longer. I'm a little short on this color. I thought I had more of this shade of green, and it turns out I do not. So sometimes that happens. I mean, it doesn't look like a lot of stuff when you've got it all laid out in front of you, but sometimes when one is gathering materials, it feels like quite a lot. Just because everything has to go in and come from a different place. So I've got drawers for beads, I've got drawers for scissors, needle, like sewing equipment, it's all over the place. So it makes me an artist. Things are a mess, but I can find them. It just takes a little time to gather, as I say. Okay, let's do one more here. Trim another piece quickly. And these pieces, I'll say it again, you want these to be relatively thin. So if they are a full centimeter wide, I would suggest even now narrowing them out a little bit, and I might have to narrow mine too once we get going, but we'll see. As I said, this is really thick stuff, so I'm not sure quite how narrow we'll need it to be, but we're gonna try to get this to fit through the beads. And for this kind of a project, pony beads are really one of your best options. Those are the ones that they're not quite round, they're more like a piece of a cut off cylinder, I guess you could say. And those ones are good because they tend to have really large holes, which makes it easy for the leather to go on. Okay, so let's do our nose next. Grab a strip of leather or a needle and thread, or you can just use glue. It depends on what kind of charm you're using. I'm going to run this through here, and this is going to basically sit like this. So we'll wrap the straps to the back and throw in some glue, and depending on the kind of charm or nose you're using, you might have a different way that you'd like to attach it. Trim the ends. Put on some glue. Press down. Some more glue. Press down. Set that timer. And then we can put on our, we'll put on our beads and feathers next. Go from there. There's a couple steps left, but we're getting close. And this is probably the hardest of the gluing and wrapping and preparing and doing already. It for 22 more seconds. Thank you for your patience. I know this can take a little bit of time. Almost done. Okay, let's carefully flip it. And now you're going to get the bead and the feather that you would like to show up on the top part of your pieces. You can alternate them back and forth. It's up to you. What we're going to pick one. Start here in the middle. Take the narrow part of your leather strip and push it through the bead. Again, we might have to do some trimming. And I think I'm going to pause the video while I do that so you don't have to watch me cut anymore. I'll be right back and we'll get this next piece going. So I had to trim my ends really thin actually, and I'm gonna get you to pause here and put a bead onto each of the pieces. If you want, you can do one from each, or every single, like one from each set of two, or every single strand. And I'm actually going to do 2 beads together. The reason being that my top beads are very tight and I want to fit the feather in. So I'm going to do 2 on mine. At least on some of them. We'll see how many beads I've got at the dark brown. And the next step is you're going to take a little bit of glue, move your bead down a touch, put the glue above the bead onto the leather, slide your bead up, and stick a feather into the bead. And we're going to repeat that for all of the others. I'm going to start on my other side. And as I said, I'm using my 2 beads together, but you can just use the 1. You could do 3 together if you wanted to. Or another thing you can do is 1 bead and 1 set of feathers on the top, which is what I did on the red, and then and with a separate one on the bottom. You know, I think what I'm going to do, what I feel like doing now, is mixing up my feather colors. Okay, so I think every other one I'm going to put in the light green, and we'll see how things go from there. This is so funny. I don't know why this one doesn't want to go through. Definitely narrow enough. There. A little glue above. Pop your bead up. Stick your feather in. I think you're probably starting to get the idea here. I'm not going to do all of them with you, but I'll do a couple more with you so you can see again. And I will definitely put the finished product in the thumbnail, which I'm sure you already know if you're watching this video. Maybe a little more glue in that one. Okay, so you know what to do on this bottom part. This is what we've done so far, and there will be more. I'm going to add some more once I sign off here. But just for those of you who are ready for the next step, there are 2 more things to do. So one is to create the hanging piece, and the other is to put in the little eyebrows, and both things are pretty fast to do. So for the top piece, you can just pull a piece over and glue it under. What I like to do, I think it looks kind of neat, is we fold a strip in half, find the center of the first one, come through from the back to the front, I guess it would be, put the ends under. Oh, no, we do it the other way, front to the back. I always get that backwards. So we'll put the loop over, grab these under, press them up through just as we attached those side pieces. Let's untwist that. I'm going to put a little bit of glue underneath. Pull that on tight. And then we're going to bring it over to the other side. Sorry, I'm gonna sneeze. Oh, excuse me. Oh my gosh. Okay, sorry. pull it under, and we're gonna bring it over and tie it in a little knot on the back. So like so. The pieces went under, and then they're gonna go split and come around to the back. Turn it over. Now you can just glue it, or I like to tie a little knot. And we're gonna put a dab of glue under that as well. Even everything out before we secure it for good. You can do a double knot. I think I will for now at any rate while my glue is drying. So there we've got something to hang it by now. I'm gonna set this down again for a minute. And take two of your feathers. Have to decide. Kind of do like the dark, but those green are pretty striking. Let's see. I'm gonna go with a couple of the light green. You want to make sure that you've got two feathers that are relatively close in size and shape, and the longer they are the better. So these two are pretty close, and we're going to stick them under like so, and put a little glue right under that nose charm first. And it's okay if it shows up just a little bit above, because the feathers are going in right away and they're going to cover it. Just make sure that you do get the glue on both of the feathers. You can position them the way that you want. Kind of press that for a minute there. And this is how you make your owl. So I will show you the red one more time, and then I'm going to let you go. I'll finish putting on the beads and get the finished product into the thumbnail for you. So in the end, you're going to have something a little bit like this. And what I did here, I'll just show you one more time. I do have a second set of beads lower down with a second set of feathers. So if you want longer strips, you can do 2 or more sets of beads and feathers. We've got our eye beads, our nose charm, eyebrow feathers, the hanging piece, which you can see comes out looking really clean at the end. And that is how you can make your hanging Dreamcatcher decorative owl. Okay, thank you for watching. Take care.